Greetings and welcome to ValorTube.com. My name is Paul Lira. I am an original content provider at ValorTube.com and like to welcome everybody to This Week in Prophecy. We're going to start in Jerusalem, specifically on the Temple Mount area. That's the picture we got up here. We've got just a typical map of the situation. And we will drop in the terrain. And better yet, let's not do the terrain. Let's get a lay of what's actually going on here. So here is the Dome of the Rock, the Golden Dome, right here as a landmark. We are going to be looking south. And specifically, we're going to be looking down here at the Pool of Siloam, the City of David Road, and the City of David. Got a little discovery. Rare silver rebel coin, maybe minted at Temple 2,000 years ago, found in Jerusalem. So it's actually not found in Jerusalem. It was found down here in the City of David, which is south of the Temple Mount. What we know today is the Temple Mount complex. Now, I would argue this is probably where all the action was roughly 2,000 years ago. And even before then, so was Solomon's Temple and possibly Herod's Temple. I'm of the opinion that was probably located south of what is the modern day Temple Mount complex. And I know I'll have tons of people disagree with me on that, and that's okay. So here's a picture of the coin. This is a silver coin, 2,000-year-old silver shekel coin. And this was discovered by an 11-year-old girl, Liel Krudakop. She is sifting through some dirt from an archaeological dig at the City of David National Park. There's the young lady with the coin. There's a picture of the coin. This is courtesy of the Times of Israel. The coin's estimated to be from 67 to 68 Common Era. We would say that is AD. Love how the Common Era has replaced AD over there in Israel. I wanted to scroll down. Everyone knows. Where was the quote? Emperor Vespasian, who along with his son Titus suppressed the Jewish revolt and destroyed the temple, ordered the construction of this new amphitheater, Colosseum, from his share of the spoils. There's tons of silver that was in the old temple. Only one can imagine the extent of the loot and the amount of money the Romans found in the temple storehouses. And this street where the coin was excavated, which connected the Siloam Pool in the south of the City of David to the Temple Mount in the north, was Jerusalem's main street during the Second Temple period. It's where thousands of pilgrims marched on their way to the temple. Lots of trade. Coin weighed approximately 14 grams or 0.4 ounces. Again, 67, 68 CE or AD. So to give you guys just an idea, we're talking about this area right in here. Here's the Pool of Siloam, City of David. Arguably along this road or this road. Doesn't say specifically, but the road connecting the two. So always like starting with information out of the Holy Land. So again, for the critic who wants proof that there was actually a Jewish temple, that the Jews actually were in the land even 2,000 years ago, and David himself was 1,000 years before Jesus, so we're talking 3,000 years from now. It's just crazy that people even argue this, but they do. They want proof. Well, they get the proof, and whatever. We're going to go from Jerusalem to Australia. We got some COVID news coming out of Australia. So the main thing I want you to focus on, we got Darwin here in the north, specifically a little suburb of Darwin, Howard Springs, Australia, where the red pointer is, and then also in Alice Springs, which is in the southern part of the Northern Territory in Australia. And this comes from Vision Times, which is Chinese, I think, by nature. And they make the note, Australia begins COVID quarantine camps. Total 24-hour lockdowns for positives and contact traces. And I know this sounds over the top. I had several people reach out to me with this information over the last week. So, this originally was issued on and put to press on November 23rd, so 5 days ago. And it's like, oh, surely they're not starting COVID camps in Australia. Oh, surely, yes, they are. And again, they are located in the north, Howard Springs, which is outside of Darwin in the far north of Australia. And there's also another one in Alice Springs. And then so I dug a little deeper, and the Aussies, they're not hiding it. This is from the Northern Territory government. So this is not, they're telling you what they're doing. So there are 2 mandatory supervised quarantine facilities in the Northern Territory. Howard Springs, as we showed, in the north, and Darwin, and Alice Springs, which is in the southern part of the Northern Territory. We got some rules, how you are to behave, what you must do if you are in quarantine. You must stay in your room, including the veranda space allocated to the rooms. You get a little porch, unless you're permitted by the authorized officer. Need to social distance 1.5 meters. I would guess that's roughly what? 4.5 feet, 6 feet, probably. I get probably closer to 4.5. You need to wear a face mask when you're outside of your room, unless your authorized officer permits you to do otherwise. You will comply with directions given by the authorized officer to avoid people congregating in the quarantine zone. And you must not leave the quarantine zone in which person's allocated room is located unless the person is escorted by an authorized officer, except in an emergency. You will behave. You cannot share objects. No toys, food. Can't share that kind of stuff. Can't play games or cards. Nope. Facilities. It's what the following are not permitted. No, no cooking equipment, microwaves, electric fryers, rice cookers, induction cookers, no alcohol, no toys, no skateboards, scooters, balls, blades, no visitors, no care packages, no personal goods or meal deliveries. Family rooms are not always available. The Alice Springs quarantine facility can accommodate families in shared room based on room availability at the time. The Center for National Resilience, what a name. The Center for National Resilience, which is a COVID quarantine facility. It's primarily a single room accommodation with no internal connecting doors. Great. Wi-Fi is available at both facilities, but speed and connectivity varies widely. Amenities. You get some amenities here at these quarantine centers. Bottled water is not provided, but don't worry about it. Tap water is safe for drinking in both facilities. We have limited tea, coffee, sugar, and milk. You get disposable cups and a hot water jug, free over-the-air television, and air conditioning. Toiletries, however, are not provided. Please ensure you pack your own toilet paper. Come on. Both facilities operate click and collect services for additional personal items you may require. So we got some vending machines, I take it. And remember to pack your phone charger as well. They are not provided at the facilities. Again, no cooking facilities. 3 meals a day. 3 squares will be provided to you through the catering team. You have the option of vegetarian, vegan, halal, and medical dietary needs. And food allergies. These things are accommodated to the best of their ability. The team will work with you about your meal options. So this just sounds wonderful. Individual meal requests may not be made available in the first 24 hours of your stay. No meal or delivery services. So Uber Eats is out. Menu log pizza, Deliveroo. They don't do that. We can't do that. And please be mindful that our quarantine facilities are operated by dedicated staff from multiple Northern Territory government agencies and contractors. They are not responsible for your entry into quarantine, but they're working there to make sure you stay as comfortable as possible while making sure strict infection control rules and directions are followed. All right. And this is updated November 10th. So they're ready to go. And in case you don't believe that, um, Australian Defence Forces called in to haul positive COVID-19 cases and close contacts to quarantine centers. So if they find out you're positive there, they're hauling you to these places. And look where this is at in Australia. I mean, Alice Springs is in the middle of stinking nowhere in Australia. You have nowhere to go. You're there, and it is the destination. The same thing's true in Darwin. If you're going to make a run for it, you better know how to swim. And there's nowhere else to go. I mean, these places are the destinations, so they're going to seclude and isolate. And then they're also ready to go to the Solomon Islands. Solomon Island leader blames foreign power for unrest. Well, so they brought in the Aussies to enforce some stability. Give you a lay of the land here. Here are the Solomon Islands off to the north and east of Australia. So again, leadership, Prime Minister Sagavare, I guess that's how you say it. He called in the Aussies to settle this down. They've had some rioting. People walked through, looted the streets in Chinatown in the Solomon Islands. Foreign interference over his government's decision to switch alliances from Taiwan to Beijing for anti-government arrests. Now, that's going to play into the Chinese not liking this, that they brought in the Aussies. A plane carrying Australian police and diplomats arrived, stood by his government's decision to embrace Beijing, which he described as the only issue for violence. This thing's a mess. Australian Foreign Minister Maurice Payne did not agree that the other countries had stirred up the unrest. We've not indicated that at all. We've been very clear. Our view is we don't want to see violence. We would very much hope for a return to stability. So I'm not sure what's going on out there on the Solomon Islands, but Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison on Thursday committed troops, police, and diplomats to help local police restore order and protect critical infrastructure. They said they would not assist in the protection of the national parliament and the executive buildings. They don't want to be accused, the Aussies, of taking political sides. Some observers argue Australia intervened quickly to avoid Chinese security forces moving in to restore order. The Aussies said the Solomon Islands reached out to us first as family because they trust us, and we've worked hard for that trust in the Pacific. So Morrison, who's an Aussie, questioned whether Chinese citizens and businesses were being targeted. Bit of a mixed story, he thought. And he also believes that the Solomon Islands government can restore social order and stability as soon as possible. And that's per the Chinese Foreign Ministry. So at any rate, we've got some unrest in the Solomon Islands out here to the northeast of Australia. Australia is willing to step up and be assertive to keep the Chinese out of there, so it looks. Interesting little situation we got taking place in the Solomon Islands, along with Australia's very assertive role in dealing with COVID on the homeland. So they got a couple of political situations brewing. Um, definitely will be watching. Which takes us to Jerusalem Post. Just a quick note on this: the historic agreement between Israel and Morocco for the Abraham Accords, and this has been going on kind of quietly behind the scenes. All the countries that have signed with Israel in the Abraham Accords, Israel and these companies are quietly having military agreements, uh, little war games together. They're getting their militaries together, and has Morocco mulls buying Israeli radar, drones, jets upgrade per report, but no immediate comment. So we got that kind of brewing quietly behind the scenes of all these other international things. Israel reaching military cooperative agreements, security cooperation with countries they have signed the Abraham Accords. Worth watching. Which leads us to Russia. Russia again's had another busy week. We care about Russia because of Ezekiel 38 and 39. Russia starts full-scale production of its unstoppable 6,670 mile per hour Zircon hypersonic missile, as Moscow boasts it has capability to evade all Western defenses. And this is a little bit ahead of schedule. Serial production of Russia's Zircon hypersonic missile was today announced. It's unstoppable and deadly. It's being rushed into manufacturing. Production plans at a top secret plant in Rutovo follow recent successful tests. So, and then of course we got some video. You can watch the hypersonic missile. Mach 9 capability, 9 times the speed of sound. Very fast. Targeted on the coast. That was across the northern part of Russia, July 2021. So what, 5 months ago or so? They're gearing up. In Russia, Putin says he wants this deployed next year by the Russian Navy. Okay. So they're busy. Also, makes you wonder what Putin's up to in Libya. The United Nations, this is from the Daily Sabah out of Turkey. This is Turkish state-run press, the Daily Sabah. UN Libya mediator steps down 1 month before elections. And as a reminder, presidential elections in Libya are scheduled for December 24. That'd be this year in 2021. And again, this last little focus we're spending time on, the Ezekiel 38-39 prophecy. Quick cliff notes: Russia and friends, including Turkey, this is a Turkish-run state newspaper. Libya, ancient put, is going to join Russia. Iran, Persia, and Turkey, and Libya, and arguably the Sudan / maybe Ethiopia are going to be the main players and the ones that decide to go get Israel. But the UN, their mediator, steps down 1 month before the elections are set to take place. And he was a German foreign minister, Heiko Maas. He's not in the picture. I don't know why they showed this then. This is kind of silly. Mediator Jan, I don't understand what the Daily Sabah is doing here. This makes no sense now that I start to look at this picture and then I start to read this news. The UN Libya mediator Jan Kubis has resigned, and he was supposed to oversee the elections. He's a former Slavic foreign minister who has served on the UN Special Coordinator for Lebanon and the UN Special Envoy in Afghanistan and Iraq. So he steps down. It's not clear why he's stepping down. So, as a reminder, One of Gaddafi's kids is running. General Haftar's son may be running. General Haftar may be running. But it does smell like, why is this guy stepping down? Who's going to fill its place? I would argue it's probably going to be Russia. Putin's wanting it, and Putin's made it pretty clear he wants to be a power broker in this election. So I just wonder what he's up to in regards to that. And we'll stay with Russia. We'll go to TASS. This is out of Russia. So the United States put some sanctions on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which this whole thing just makes zero sense whatsoever. Russian envoy slams U.S. plans for new sanctions on Nord Stream 2 as unacceptable. Nord Stream 2 is a gas pipeline that is one of a few pipelines that delivers natural gas to Europe. And so the United States says, okay, we want to mess with the money of it and file sanctions against this pipe. And it's not even the United States. This whole thing's just silly. Russia's upset, which I don't really understand why Russia would be upset. And it's like, well, all that's doing is going to further jack with any kind of oil and gas distribution to Europe, which in turn should increase prices and make things even harder on those folks in Europe. I mean, the whole policy makes zero sense, but President Biden administration, I'm not even going to try to follow the thinking on this. So it's kind of one of these weeks. What's right is wrong. What's wrong is right. It's just massive confusion. It's like none of the stuff that's being done makes any sense. So if you want to check this out, go to the TASS, Russian news agency, for the article. At any rate, the United States is doing that. And then we got this in the backdrop. Russia's had a busy month last month, and now they're ready to go after Ukraine by the end of January after amassing. They got over 90,000 troops, and we got a map on this so you guys can take a look at it. This is according to a Ukraine general out of Kiev. And so here is a picture, a map. Yeah, here we go. So this is what Russia has sent all around. They are effectively surrounding Ukraine with 94,000 troops, 40 battalions, 1,200 tanks, 1,600 artillery units, 330 jets, aircraft, 240 helicopters, 75 boats and ships, and 6 submarines. And they pretty much surrounded the Ukraine on 3 sides. There you have it. Of course, these are Ukraine soldiers. U.S. says we're going to help support Ukraine. U.S. has got some real issues. We say we're going to support the Ukraine. Russia's surrounding them. We say we're going to support Taiwan. China's very active. Aussie's got our back. Crazy times right now. Also related to Ezekiel 38:39, and this proves President Recep Erdogan has absolutely no idea what he's doing when it comes to management of the Turkish economy. So he cut interest rates as their currency is declining, which made matters worse. So you can see just in the last month, this thing, as of about 10 days ago, $1 was equal to approximately 10 Turkish lira. Well, he made those comments and spike real bad, as high as 12.82. So, I mean, it's taken a 25% hit against the dollar. The Turkish lira has declined 25% in the last 2 weeks. Can you imagine, just on a purchasing power basis, if everything we had went up by 25%? I mean, that doesn't count for the ripple effects of this decision, but just on the currency alone, a 25% hit. And this thing, the Lira, a year ago, the beginning of the year, was around 7. I mean, so gosh, five by 7. I mean, that's around 80%. It's depreciated close to 80% in the last year. I mean, that is just crazy. And again, imagine an 80% increase just on the price effects alone, or the purchasing power alone, let alone the ripple effects of what that would do to the cost of goods. You imagine paying 80% more for electricity, gas, at the pump, food, medicine, crazy stuff. And that's what these people are going through in Turkey. And they got a leader who, by the way, I'm going to cut interest rates as this thing continues to go south, which makes it even worse. Not that we're any great shakes here in the United States. We're printing money as fast as we can. The European Central Bank's printing money as fast as it can. I mean, that's what everybody's doing around the planet right now. All these governments are just printing. And that's why we got increase. That's why we have inflation. And, I suspect that's not going to stop anytime soon. I know our government, or not our government, but the Treasury, I guess it'd be the Federal Reserve, is making some hints that they may start to taper. But I don't think that's going to happen because of what we're going to talk about here. A quote from Jesus, Luke 21:11. With the comment, Jesus talking here, there will be great earthquakes, famines, pestilences in various places, along with fearful sights and great signs from heaven. Well, in case you didn't hear, we woke up today, Sunday, November 28th. We had ourselves a 7.5 earthquake in Peru. So that's pretty, and that's the only ones I talk about anymore. You got to be over 7 to do some damage, or to be worth discussing. So anything over 7, unless we have something that's in a populated area. This appears to be a bit remote, so I haven't seen a whole lot of damage reports, which is probably good. But again, 7.5 on the Richter scale. And then we also have more COVID news over the holiday, over Thanksgiving. Press was in freak out mode. The World Health Organization, Omicron, extremely mild, says doctor who first discovered strain, as numerous mutations destabilize the virus. Now, this is not being seen by and large throughout global presses. They're trying to tell you how awful this thing is, and it is. It appears to spread pretty quickly. But the template coming out of South Africa is that it's extremely mild. And I've seen this with about 2 or 3 different quotes now from people who are, allegedly near ground zero of this latest mutation and outbreak. Omicron is extremely mild, says doctor who first discovered strain. What we are seeing clinically in South Africa, and remember, I'm at the epicenter, that's where I'm practicing, is extremely mild. Well, he's not the only one saying that. I've seen a couple of other people say the same thing. Spreads like crazy, but extremely mild. And the idea behind it is that there are more of these little spike proteins which bind to the human body easier, and that's why it spreads. But it's not that strong, and its response is mild, is how it affects people. So take it or leave it. You're not going to see that in the mainstream press. Now, the politicization of this is very, frankly, I think it's amusing. The variants, news of the quote, of the news of new variant, which is a mouthful to say. Well, they skipped over new NU because it was confusing with new NEW. And then the WHO is jumping the alphabet to call it Omicron so they can avoid the Greek letter chi, which is also the name of the Chinese Premier Xi Xi. Although it said Xi in China, it looks like Kai in Greek, and we don't want to upset the Chinese and the premier and confusing his name with the latest mutation of the virus that originated in Wuhan in his country. I find that rather funny. And I know some people would say that that's very insensitive talk and I need to be corrected. Oh, well. But anyhow, or I'm sorry, Ki. Chi is down here at the bottom. That's the Greek letter Ki. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know my Greek that well. But the spelling XI was to be confused with the Chinese premier. So I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of emails and commentary for you folks who went to sororities and fraternities who know your Greek way better than I do. You know your alphabet anyway. So I apologize in advance. But the point is XI as a spelling for a Greek alphabet letter is too close to the premier of China's name. So we can't have that. Anyway, I need to step away from this before I get myself in more trouble. So appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to This Week in Prophecy. Lots of things going on. Russia continues to be busy throughout the globe with mass production of their hypersonic missiles. It would appear Russia may have a finger even more in the Libya elections as the UN designated person has stepped down and resigned. Also, Russia looks to be on the cusp of invading the Ukraine. COVID response, Australians are becoming increasingly, I'd say, oppressive with their little COVID camps in the Northern Territories. Alice Springs and Darwin, or Howard, in Darwin, in the far north of the country, and a lot going on. Things continue to happen at a quick pace. So I appreciate you guys to take the time to listen to This Week in Prophecy. Look forward to seeing you guys again next week. Appreciate it. Take care. Bye.